Hello dear friends, in today's video I will show my game against Panesar Vedant from India, rated 2460 plus, round 5 of Dubai Police Open tournament. So let's go. Let me also say that I'm recording this video very late since after finishing my game I rushed to join and play qualification for the Champions Chess Tour. Yes, I skipped first round and then I scored 5 points out of 8. Yes, more or less decent result. Maybe I could do better than I did, but yes, it was very tough tournament, many strong players. So let's check the game. Yes, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6. And here I went short castle. Yes, my opponent had some games with b5, bishop b3, bishop c5. Also he had games with bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3, short castle. So I did not really expect before the game that he will choose knight takes e4 line. So he went knight e4, d4, b5, bishop b3, d5, d takes c, bishop e6. And here many interesting moves are possible. c3, bishop e3, queen e2, rook d1. So I played c3, bishop e7. Yes, in 2024 in national championship my opponent Robert Pileposian played bishop c5. I played knight bd2, short castle, bishop c2. Yes, knight takes f2, rook takes f2, f6, knight f1. Yes, now I'm threatening bishop e3, so bishop takes, f takes c, king g1, and queen d6. Game ended in a draw. Yes, here bishop g4, knight e3, bishop e6 is possible. Queen d7 is another option. Maybe even my opponent here played... no, I don't think he played bishop f5. I think he played queen d6. So what happened? Yes, bishop e7, bishop c2. Yes, if short castle, then my idea was to go h3, bishop g4. We were repeating game between Alireza and Pragg from the candidates. Yes, queen e1, knight c5, knight bd2. Yes, my opponent after the game said that if knight d4, knight d4, c takes d, knight d6, and black is more or less fine. Knight bd2, knight d6, and here in Alireza's game king h1 was played and Pragg went bishop h5, knight b3, bishop takes f3, g takes f. Yes, the point is being if short castle, then knight g1 is there with very complicated positions. Yes, my opponent, yes, knight d6, I played queen e2. Yes, he went bishop h5. After the game, he said that he didn't like much bishop h5 move. Yes, bishop h5, and here I could play rook e1. I went rook d1. Yeah, short castle. Yes, and here I wanted to go knight f1 with the ideas to go knight g3, but here bishop g5 works somehow. Let's say if I go bishop g5, then knight g5 is there. If I go knight g3, yes, bishop takes f3, queen f3, bishop takes c1, and here rook d5, there is some queen g5 ideas. Yes, if takes, then knight takes on e5. Yes, queen f5, knight g6 is there, bishop h7, king h7, queen h5, king g8, queen e5, c6. Yes, I think more or less black does not have much problems. So that's why here, instead of going knight f1, I went a4 with the idea to provoke b4 and then knight f1. In the resulting lines, a4, b4 will be in my favor. So my opponent played queen d7 with the idea if a takes b, a takes b, rook a8, queen b5, there is knight e5 in the end. So yes, I could go queen b7, but here knight f3, rook d8, but even rook a1 is also enough, because after rook d8 I was thinking about to go g4, bishop g4 knight e5, but bishop g6 knight e5 maybe. Yes, so here my opponent played queen d7, I went knight f1. Yes, for example, if you take bishop f3, queen f3, knight e5, there is always queen f5, knight g6, rook d5. And here my opponent surprised me with knight a5. Yes, I was expecting mainly rook d8, knight g3, bishop f3, queen f3, knight e5, queen h5, knight g6, and f4. Yes, and here some very complicated position. I'm threatening f5. Yes, and let's say any move with the bishop, f5 comes. If you jump with the g knight, then f takes c comes. If the other knight, then I'm just attacking knight on f4 with queen g4. Yes, here knight a5, knight g3, bishop g6, and here I'm almost sure that white is better in a different ways. I could go knight f5 with the threats like rook d5 and yes, c6 and something like knight d4 here. I could also play some h4, h5 ideas here. Yes, I went eventually knight d4, not the strongest probably. Bishop takes c2, queen takes c2. Yes, my opponent went knight c6. I played knight f5. If knight takes c5, rook d5 is always there. Rook d8, queen e2, attacking on b5. Yes, and here I think my opponent went wrong with king h8 because a takes b8 takes b, queen b5. Yes, I'm just pawn up, knight e5 takes. Black is forced to take with the rook, and knight e7 and rook d5. I'm just healthy pawn up. So knight c4 b3, you don't have any jumps with the knight because in the end I always have some rook e1, knight f1 is always there. So knight b6, rook d1. Yes, rook b8, I played bishop e3. g6, here I did not play knight e4 because of knight d7, so I played this. Knight d7, I went knight d4. I'm threatening knight c6, so takes, king g8. I played b4, knight e5, rook e1, rook e8, and now knight f3 is a unpleasant threat, so I played king f1, f6, bishop e5. Yes, if rook e5, rook e5, rook e5, I have rook e1. Yes, and then rook d5, king e2. Yes, f takes here, rook e4, rook d8, king e2, stopping rook d2 ideas, rook d7, rook a2, stopping rook d2, rook c4, and then check, and then rook a7. My opponent went check, king f6. I took the pawn, and he resigned. So let's go to check the game very briefly. Yes, let's say this one. Let's go back. Yes, this was the... Yes, and here my opponent played... Yes, short castle would have been the strongest. And let's say if rook e1, queen d7. Yes, he played bishop h5 and rook d1. Wow, bishop g5. Bishop g5, knight f1, bishop takes, knight e5. And here I could go knight f1, but I did not because of bishop g5. Yes, knight g3, I saw this line. Bishop f3, bishop takes c1. Yes, rook c1, knight takes c5. Yes, and not really queen f5, queen h5, rook d5, and white is better. So I played a4. Yes, and here my opponent had... yes, he always could jump knight f4, queen e3, bishop g5. I was thinking maybe queen c5. Yes, knight f4, queen f1. So rook e8 was also there. Yes, queen d7 is not... Knight f1. Yes, what about this rook d8? And if bishop takes f3, even g takes f, bishop g5 takes king h1. Yes, and here knight e5 is not working because of f4. I mean, it's possible, but white is better. So knight a5. Wow. I did not even see bishop h7. Knight g5. Wow. So a takes b or just bishop h7, takes knight g5, bishop g5, bishop h6. Yes, and yes, I played knight g3, bishop g6, and here, yes, engine shows some. So what was the idea? Like takes, knight g5. So bishop takes g5, queen takes h5, bishop h6 otherwise. And some move like bishop h6, queen f5 or queen f5, bishop h6 or knight g3. So I played this, and yes, I saw knight f5, c6. Eventually I went knight d4. Wow, knight d4, c takes d, and knight fb8. Black is better even. Wow. So takes. Yes, black is having maybe slightly unpleasant position. So knight c6, knight f5, rook d8. Yes, I could take rook a6. I played this before. Yes, just takes, and knight e5. Takes. Rook d5. Rook d1. Bishop e3. Knight e4 was there. Knight e2 I played. Knight d4, takes, king g8, I played before, rook e1, king f1, bishop e5, rook e4, king e2, yes, and check, and rook a7, as white is just winning. Thank you very much, dear friends, for watching this video. Yes, it was interesting game, theoretical battle. Yes, instead of following the steps of Alireza and going king h1 with the idea knight g1 if short castle. Yes, I knew the game, but I was almost sure that my opponent also knew it, and he came well prepared. That's why I went for this queen e2 move. Yes, and yes, with some mistakes, because I in some positions I had better moves than I played. Yes, and my move knight d4 was not the strongest. My opponent simply could take knight takes d4, and after c takes d, rook fb8, and black does not have any problems. So it was a complicated game. Thank you very much.